look forward to it. Come in here about every other week, get an opportunity to visit, sell, and talk to people. It's just great to be back. I call it back home. Grew up, born, and raised in Plaquemine, and I'm not going to the Capitol. I got more important things to do to go to the Capitol. Anyway, Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline, if you'd like to be part of the program. Tim Temple's going to slide in here around 9:30. Bernie Pincinat's going to join me a little later in the program like he always does when I come into town. We may have some questions for what the Republican Party's doing in Baton Rouge. Some of the things they promised to do, some of the things they're not doing, some of the things they're doing that we don't think they should do. I just think it's important to talk about it because we want to keep them on the right trail, on the right track if they're not. So all that and more when Bernie joins me in the second hour of the program. But before we get there, we came across a bill. As you know, the redistricting fight, Cleo Fields got a district, was given to him by Republicans. And we're very upset. There's a court case. We're waiting for the verdict from the Supreme Court. Is that a gerrymandered district or is it not? I've asked Paul Hurd to join me a little bit on that, but more importantly on something that he's come over on Senate Bill 206 that gives him a concern. If the courts rule that it's gerrymandered, does Louisiana in place to, once again, let the legislature redraw it, or is something else going on? Paul Hurd joins me. Paul, good morning.
Man, good morning, Moon. I lost you a little bit on volume, but I hear you.
All right, brother. So, Paul, real quick, on the case being heard at the Supreme Court that y'all went and tried, we should be expecting that this month sometime, correct, on the answer if that was a gerrymandered district?
That's right. We had an oral argument March 24. It's not unusual for them to hold some of the more complex cases and start issuing out opinions in June. Obviously, the last week of June is the week when their deadline, they close, Supreme Court, they close their shop over the summer, except for emergency matters. But they're finished by the end of June, and we expect an opinion out from the Supreme Court, yes or no. Our district court held that it was a racial gerrymander and was unconstitutional. We're waiting to see what the Supreme Court's decision is.
Can I ask a quick question before we get into this bill?
How would I stop you?
But the quick question is this: would you be surprised if we lost this race? And number two, that's the first question. The second question is: does the courts take into effect that the Cleo Fields district, let's call it what it is, was drawn by Republicans, pushed by Republicans, Republican governor? Does that come into play at all? I know it shouldn't, but does it?
Well, it's one of the 1,000 facts they consider as far as whether or not race was the predominant factor. I think in this case, it was almost the only material factor. Everything else was subordinated to the racial construction of the SB 8, which is the entire plan that was attacked. Look, the legislature, they're big. The Supreme Court, they're big boys and girls. They know how to do this stuff, and all we can do is wait on their good judgment. And no one knows what they're going to do, but the questioning did not seem to put us off. The strength of our case did not seem to be questioned.
Yeah. All right, Paul. So you discovered something that concerns you. So if you win the case, the process should be the legislature. The process should be. By the way, let me talk to John. John, they want us to reset the device at the break. Not now, at the break. Okay. So Paul, real quick, the process should be the legislature ought to redraw the district, and that's usually the process. But you found something that concerns you. What concerns you about Senate Bill 206?
Well, that's not the only process. When we challenged this same district, the slash, in the 1990s, it was a second legislative act. And what happens is the calendar for the election starts getting tight. And the fundamental right is the fundamental right of our voters to vote and to elect candidates from constitutional districting plans. So what we have coming up is the Secretary of State has said she needs a final districting plan in place by September 2025, 90 days away. Now, we're going to wait for a while for the Supreme Court to rule. Some of that time is going to be burned. That gets us, the legislature always has the right to act, but they always have to act in a timely fashion enough that the voters get the right to elect in a constitutional district. What we've got on House Bill 206 that's come out of the House, goes to the Senate. I believe it got amended over there a little bit and is under consideration in the Senate, is a bill that instead of the legislature keeping control over Louisiana's election code, this isn't just congressional districting. This is a bill that is trying to transfer legislative power from the legislature over the entire election code, over what evidence you've got to have that you're a citizen, when your qualifying dates are. All of that, this bill is transferring the power to the Secretary of State or to the governor to agree to different criteria. And then after the fact, after the agreement, give the legislature notice at the end. I mean, it's a real legislative capitulation, and it's just one more. It just completely guts the legislature's control over our election code.
What does that mean, that we could have a redrawing of a district that has nothing to do with the legislature?
The drawing of it would have absolutely nothing to do with the legislature. It would be done behind closed doors, ostensibly by the Secretary of State, and then the legislators would get notice of the agreement, and they've got an opportunity to simply say yes or no. Now, let's make this clear.
Okay.
Normal districting, you have to file a bill. The public gets notice. Then it's filed. Then there's discussions publicly. There's hearings. There's amendments. There's alternatives proposed publicly and debated. This process does none of that. It takes this power behind closed doors at the Secretary of State or at the governor's mansion. They negotiate the deal privately, and then they tell the legislature, this is what we agree to, take it or leave it. Now, that is such a capitulation, and it appears to me to be really a violation of the state's constitution that lists explicitly that the legislature shall enact a election code applicable to all elections in Louisiana. And I think it's got grave constitutional defects. But more importantly, I didn't know that we elected our legislators to go to Baton Rouge to give away their legislative authority. And that's what this could be trying to do.
Yeah, that's scary when you think about it. I mean,
well, think about this. We've got litigation going on about the House, the construction of the House representatives districts. We've got litigation going on about the construction of the Senate districts. This gives the Secretary of State the power to redraw those districts and then bring the fait accompli, the final version, to the Senate and take it or leave it. Now, they remain at the end the authority to vote no, but let's not be naive. These kind of deals that get cut behind closed doors, they include one chosen legislator. You get to participate by invitation only. Even if you're a legislator, you know nothing until you get invited behind the curtain. And that's what this allows, is for the election code to go behind the curtain. This procedure could eliminate any amendments anymore to the election code at the legislature. They don't need to anymore. With this legislation, you don't need to bring a bill. You go behind closed doors, make a deal after the legislature's not in session, and then you tell them, take it or leave it.
No.
And we've got a powerful enough executive. We don't need. I hope the legislature will protect itself.
No way in hell. These Republicans who told me it's the worst vote they made, almost all the ones I talked to on the Cleo Fields district, is now going to allow the Secretary of State, the governor, to handpick our next district. It's no way we can allow that. None. Let me take a break. Paul heard his name. We're talking about Senate Bill 206. What I'm hearing right now, and I'm going to come back, I'm going to sum it up, Paul, and let you re-explain it, because I want people to know exactly what you're talking about, which ought to make everybody scared to death if the Supreme Court gives us back our district. We're going to give it back to Cleo? Oh, my God. Let's take a break. 844-766-6607. Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We've never had that problem. Have you recently cut a large check to Uncle Sam? How did that feel? If you're looking for a way to reduce your tax bills next year, especially if you're paying $100,000, $500,000, even more annually, listen closely. There are strategies used by the top 1% that can significantly reduce your tax burden. There are the same little-known provisions in the tax code that ultra-wealthy individuals and even members of Congress use. At Matthew James Tax Pros in Lafayette, they specialize in helping high-income earners like business owners, physicians, attorneys, contractors, and those in the oil and gas industry keep more of what they earn. If you're tired of writing 6- or 7-figure checks to the IRS, they'll show you strategies that could cut your taxes, sometimes by half or even more. Call us today at 337-895-0TAX. That's 337-895-0829, or visit MatthewJamesTaxPros.com. Take control of your taxes. Start today to make next April a lot less painful. Every tax situation is unique, and tax savings may vary.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. It's termite season. Did you know termites are responsible for over $1 billion worth of damage in Louisiana alone? For over 60 years, J&J Exterminating has been shielding homes and businesses. 100% guaranteed against termites, pests, and mosquitoes. Louisiana-owned, customer-focused. J&J Exterminating.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating.
Get the shield.
Yeah.
Folks, you heard us talk about Raging Cajun, the original Cajun seasoning, and Raging Cajun's delicious line of gumbo, black-eyed peas, shrimp and grits, jambalaya, seafood bisque, etouffee, red beans, roux, jalapenos. Raging Cajun's products are made right here in Acadiana now. Thanks to all of y'all, Raging Cajun is one of the fastest growing brands in grocery stores. Raging Cajun, the original Cajun seasoning. Forget the rest, ask for the best. Ask them for that Raging Cajun. It's good, folks. Trust me. I love it. You will too.
The Best Stop, the #1 specialty meat store in Acadiana, just off I-10 in Scott, Highway 90 in Broussard, I-49 in Carencro, Toledo Bend, Katy, Texas, and now in Baytown, just off I-10. Summertime means Best Stop time. For your outdoor barbecue, pick up some of their delicious fresh or smoked sausage. Get you some of their fantastic specialty meats like deboned stuffed chickens, stuffed with seafood or boudin, pork, or everyone's personal favorite, cornbread dressing, steaks, bacon-wrapped chicken breast and thighs, pork loins, and of course, the best boudin and cracklins anywhere in Acadiana. Best Stop products are available in Acadiana grocery stores. But if you don't see the Best Stop in your favorite store, ask and then ask again. For the best food in Acadiana, make it the Best Stop. Just off I-10 in Scott and Highway 90 in Broussard, I-49 in Carencro, Toledo Bend, Katy, Texas, and now in Baytown, just off I-10. Order online too at beststopinscott.com. The Best Stop. They got some good groceries, folks.
Redefine your car buying experience at Acura of Lafayette. Our vehicles are priced with your best interest in mind, with no hidden fees, so you can drive home with confidence. Visit us in-store or shop online at AcuraofLafayette.com. Redefine your car buying experience at Acura of Lafayette. Our vehicles are priced with your best interest in mind, with no hidden fees, so you can drive home with confidence. Visit us in-store or shop online at AcuraofLafayette.com.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a
And what I
diploma
might do
alone.
is be a
If you're
filmmaker.
thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have
That's
help.
how-
Find free adult education classes near you at
Probably
finishyourdiploma.org.
12.
That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey, hey, I'm telling the truth.
Mike's hot.
Hello, welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon show on the road in conjunction in Baton Rouge, in conjunction with our good friends at Talk 107.3 FM. Actually, I'm in his studio. Tim Temple will join us a little later with Bernie Pincinat. It is the Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. I want to say it again. Paul Hurd with me, an attorney who is waiting patiently, or impatiently, however you look at it, on the verdict. Is the Cleo Fields district a gerrymandered district, which it is, 100%, but you're waiting on the courts. And if the court says it is, then it's real simple, Paul, that the legislature gets to redraw another one. Paul's come across.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay,
Here's the
go ahead.
problem you've got. The calendar is so tight. And this happened in the 90s. What happened is the legislature was given two opportunities, and that's about what we've already done already. They always have the right to come in, but as it relates to the 2026 election, with the deadline in September, what we're likely facing is that different plans will be presented to the three-judge panel, the district court here locally. They'll be presented by the Attorney General, well, not the Attorney General, the Secretary of State. They'll be presented by the defendants. They'll be presented by the Calais plaintiffs, the clients I represent.
Sure.
And the court will adopt an interim plan for 2026.
Okay.
And then only because there's no time for legislature to cure its own error. After that, the legislature will be in a position to, again, if they choose to adopt a plan as they see fit. But right now, that's why this bill is so threatening to the process, and that is, and remember, we're going to have different secretaries of state in the future.
Sure.
We had John Bell Edwards. We're going to have different governors in the future. This bill capitulates and shifts the election code over to the Secretary of State and the governor's office. We don't want to give up the public control of our election code. And I hope the legislature will see fit to protect itself.
Paul, so you said,
and protect the people.
You said the Secretary of State will get an opportunity to present, or they'll present three different deals. But once they rule, if they rule this thing gerrymandered, that's not one of the districts they can keep, can they? They got to do something
correct.
else, correct?
What we have won't be.
Yeah. Okay. That's
no.
What,
that one will be put, as we say, in the dustbin of history.
Yeah.
It's gone, just like it was in the 1990s.
But is it any way to go? I guess they're gonna have to present other districts. I mean, we had a district that was drawn under Bell Edwards. Okay, that was drawn by the Republicans before that, which only
they
took
drew
it,
it, passed it, vetoed it. The governor vetoed it, and they overrode the veto.
Mm-hmm. That's the one I think. Why can't that be represented, or can it? Can it?
It can be.
Okay.
It can be presented. The parties in this lawsuit will present their proposed remedy that stays with the legislative intent and directives, but that eliminate the racial gerrymandering that occurred in District 6. And what that means is that district cannot be held together. And you'll end up with something likely that looks far more like, not identical, but far more like what we had before SB 8, that terrible vote and that terrible plan was enacted.
Yeah, Paul, I'm hoping and praying the Supreme Court sees what you think they'll see. I know you feel good about the case, but once again, we got to wait and see what the ruling is. I would hope they would do the ruling quicker than later because of the times restraints. In other words, I know every week they're probably giving a few out And I guess that's just how you put it out. But wish they'd just release them all. Let's be done. But I'm hoping and praying that what you're telling me, I wish it was wrong that we didn't have people trying to confiscate basically a district to maybe keep it with Cleo Fields. I mean, that people ought to be livid if that's really what's going on. But I trust that you are reading this bill right. There's no doubt in my mind you are.
Oh, I think, look, I worry about this bill. You give me a different governor and a different secretary of state, they can, inside the election code are the parameters for using mail-in ballots. They could extend the deadline. They could, by agreement, extend the deadline for mail-in ballots that are good for another month.
Yeah.
They could change in the election code the proof required to prove that a voter is a citizen of the United States before they register. They could change that proof or waive the proof and simply say an affidavit is sufficient. They can change all the intricate protections that we have up in the election code by agreement, create a crisis, and say take it or leave it. And I think this is just we can't do everything instantaneously. The legislature needs to preserve its premier authority over the election code, or they're going to hand one more. They may disappear because their district can be redrawn, and you look up and go, we never even talked about it. It can't be amended. This procedure says the agreement is entered into by the Secretary of State, and notice of it goes to the legislators.
Yeah.
But there's no ability to modify or amend.
Got to go. Thanks, Paul. We'll do it again.
All
God
right,
bless.
man.
Appreciate it. We'll take a break.
Thank
You're
you.
listening to the Moon Griffon Show. I just didn't know what to do.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, we had to click the button like 20 times, and then it randomly clicked on.
Yeah, that's the Matt deal.
5 Louisiana locations. I always make it a point
It's
to visit Superior Grill when I'm traveling in the great state of Louisiana. I love the food there. It's authentic Mexican food with a Louisiana twist. Their menu has all your favorites: nachos, quesadillas, enchiladas, tacos, fajitas, hand-cut steaks, and the best margaritas in the state. You can go to Superior for lunch or dinner, and folks, you're going to thank me for it. My lovely bride and I eat at Superior Grill every chance we get. They're on Line Avenue in Shreveport, Government Street, and Highland Road in Baton Rouge. In other words, St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans, and on College Saloon and Lafayette. I'm talking great food, great service, and great margaritas. The best Mexican food with the Louisiana twist is found at Superior Grill, Shreveport on Line Avenue, Baton Rouge on Government Street, and Highland Road, New Orleans on St. Charles Avenue, and College Saloon in Lafayette. This is Moon Griffon. I'll see you at Superior Grill. This is Moon Griffon. You know I love a great Louisiana company, and one of those that I love is Hudco Roofing. Hudco Roofing and Exteriors is Louisiana's premier professional roofing contractor, specializing in residential roofing services. Remember, your roof protects everything, all your possessions, and most importantly, your family. And that's where Hudco Roofing comes in. These folks are not just your average roofer. They're the #1 roofing company in the state, and that's why I endorse them. Whether you need repairs or a brand new roof, Hudco Roofing has you covered. Hudco is a CertainTeed Select Shingle Master and takes every roof all the way down to the decking to make sure there's no hidden damages. Hudco Roofing is also a state-certified installer of the fortified roofing system, and that's a big deal, especially during hurricane season. Anywhere in Louisiana, you can get a free roof inspection and quote from Hudco Roofing. For quality workmanship, premium products, and unparalleled customer service is Hudco Roofing. I trust Hudco Roofing of Louisiana, and so can you. HudcoRoofing.com. HudcoRoofing.com. Tell them Moon sent you.
Craig Morrell and the staff at United Tile have been flooring Acadiana for over 3 decades. Craig brings decades of experience to the flooring business, along with familiar faces you know. At United Tile, they have the 2-foot by 4-foot large format porcelain tile that everyone needs ASAP. They also have vinyl plank flooring that looks like real wood, but without the cost. It's durable with do-it-yourself installation, or they can do it for you. Also in stock are waterproofing and all installation materials. Over 5,000 different selections between tile and wood are available. They'll give you a free estimate, and they back their work with a 1-year guarantee. United Tile handles residential as well as commercial flooring. So no matter what kind of home or business you have, United Tile has what you need at a price that won't break the bank. Their slogan, "Come walk on our floors to choose yours," rings so true. United Tile, 1505 Eras Landry. Call them at 337-234-2319.
As a business owner, you want your building to look the best it can. Here's Brad Price with CertaPro Painters.
Half of our business is commercial. You may recognize some of them if you drive down Pinhook, Cafe Vermilionville. That job turned out great, one of the oldest buildings in town. It looks fantastic. We went with the color theme of the Hayes Town, the old architect that has built a number of properties in Louisiana. He's out of New Orleans.
Call CertaPro Painters today or visit CertaPro.com.
Imagine battling cancer and actually beating it. You feel like you've just come out of the woods, only to discover you're about to go over another cliff. Hi, I'm Kathy Bates, and as a 2-time cancer survivor, I can tell you nothing prepared me for the challenge of lymphedema, a chronic disease often brought on by cancer treatment that compromises the lymphatic system and leads to a lifetime of severe swelling and pain. Lymphedema, LE, affects more Americans each year than AIDS, Parkinson's, MS, muscular dystrophy, and ALS combined. Yet with proper treatment, it can be managed or even prevented. That's why I urge everyone facing a cancer diagnosis to be your own best advocate. Discuss LE with your doctor before undergoing surgery. With patients and doctors working together, we can learn and live. Learn more at lymphaticnetwork.org.
Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, exists with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children. We exist as a body of bikers to empower children to not feel afraid of the world in which they live. We stand ready to lend support to our wounded friends by involving them with an established, united organization. If you'd like to know more about BACA, please visit our website at bacaworld.org or call 1-866-71-ABUSE.
You're listening to the home of the Moon Griffon Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEP.
Mike's hot.
Hello, welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show. Great to be on the road. Beautiful Baton Rouge. Talk 107.3 FM in this studio. Appreciate it. Guarantee Broadcasting for giving us a great opportunity, like all of our radio stations. All right, let's jump gears. Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. Jump gears. Great to have Tim Temple in. Of course, insurance has been it's taken hold of the session up to this point. And first of all, good morning, Tim. Good to see you.
Hey, good morning, man.
So, Tim, I had the governor on yesterday. I gave him credit for his 10% reduction. Of course, I want to see it still. But tell me what really is going on. And what I mean by that, let me back up. What's going on in the fact that where are we on this thing? Because I'm going to be honest with you, and I've said this to you, and I've said it to the governor. I've said it on air 1,000 times. If I'm seeing a deduction in my pocket, I know we're probably heading in the right direction.
Yep.
Okay, we know we're not there yet. But with everything that's passed, do we really get there in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, Moon, first, before we start off, I know the governor came in yesterday and he brought you 2 live turkeys.
They were big. Too.
I don't have live turkeys. If you remember at the beginning of the session, Senator Blake Miguez kind of did the turkeys and the eagles.
He did. That's
right?
Correct.
Well, here's an eagle for you. It's not a live eagle for your viewers.
By the way, if you'd have brought a live eagle, I was going to get worried about our elected officials.
Right. That's right. This is not a live eagle, but
Thank you, man.
I don't think you're talking turkey. I think you're bringing out the facts and you're talking about things that the listeners want to know about.
Now y'all didn't scare me. You and the governor. Somebody's going to come in here and bring bull. And they get a big bull in one of these studios. We in trouble. I just want to let you know that.
We'll get you a big trailer. But no, look, Moon,
I like that thing.
I know you've talked about and on your show, and you talk about how taking steps forward doesn't get us where we need to be, right? When you're so,
when you're so far back.
I'm saying what you're saying. When you're so far behind, you can't afford to take steps. You need to take big, bold leaps. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were trying to do this session. We had a lot of bills designed to take big, bold leaps. Emily Cheneviers, modified comparative fault is a big, bold leap.
By the way, that was one of the ones that survived House, Senate, and the governor signed. And I'm glad all three worked out. But that was one of the ones that was important. All of them important.
Yep.
But that was really big.
It was. That was a significant leap forward. The rest of the bills, I would say, were steps, right? And it's kind of like we're stumbling forward. We can't afford to stumble forward because, like you said, we want to see the reduction in premiums. We want to keep that money in our pocket. And so some bills were signed. We're getting there. I can tell you another one that I thought was going to be a significant leap forward was this medical transparency.
That was 231.
Right.
Senate bill from Reese.
Collateral source. Yeah. Medical
by the way,
transparency.
can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I heard that thing was so watered down, they brought it to the House in a mop bucket. That's what I heard.
I'm not going to dispute that. But look, and yesterday, if you were watching that committee hearing, and there was a rep, Representative Carlson, that he stated truth on that. It's not going to address the big problem now, which is private pay. And look, is it going to get signed? Yes. Does it help? A little.
Okay.
Is it going to address the big issue in the room? No, it's not. And so I think we have to be brave enough and bold enough to say what is going to work, what's going to make a big difference, and what's going to make a little bit of a difference. And I think I'm going to have to put that bill in the category. It's going to make a little difference. But again, there's nothing else moving as far as legal reform. I don't think there's any other bills left. Last Wednesday, Jew Day, effectively.
They had three bills. Was it Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday? They had three bills. None of the authors even showed up because they already know they dead. They did not show up because they were fishing. They didn't show up because they were dead.
Yeah, you had Senator Alan Seabaugh had a conflict, couldn't be there, and therefore nothing was going to move.
Okay,
so,
can I ask you about one more bill?
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's at in the process. I don't know if it's headed to the governor's desk. I want to say this, Senate Bill 111. It was by Seabaugh.
That is, and I think that's out of both.
You think? I think it's headed to the governor's desk.
I think it is. That's right.
So does I'm not getting between you and the governor.
No,
the governor signed it because he said he would sign any bills that came across.
And that's a bill that's a reform.
But I heard it was a pretty good bill.
That's a reform bill, and it is a good bill. And so so I'm looking forward to that one being signed and come. So this session we've made again, and look, I'll agree with the governor. They probably, if you collectively, probably the biggest, boldest reform that's been done as far as number of bills. Again, Emily Chenever's bill, that's a big one. The rest of it's just kind of smaller, but it is what we needed to do. We still have a lot more to go. Unfortunately, like I said, I think this session, legal reform is done for.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you another question. I want to get to 148 in a second, but I want to. So I had the governor on, and I asked him, "Are we going to move any other bills next year, the year after?" And he was kind of vague in that. Do you think they're going to just kill it for the next term? I mean, you're there for 2.5 more years. They're all there for 2.5 more years. Everybody's got to get reelected. You think they're not going to bring anything back up next year? I'm asking you as a guy that you got to be hearing more than I'm hearing, because I heard that this is it. They don't want to bring nothing else for 2 years, and that kills everything that has been done in these small steps, in my opinion.
Look, we cannot afford not to continue to work on reform. Like you've heard, I've said it, the governor's mentioned it, other people have mentioned, all these other states are doing legal reform. South Carolina actually got some. I thought South Carolina was going to be a state where it was dead, but they actually got a little bit of legal reform done there. They needed it desperately. Georgia did it this year. Florida's done it. Oklahoma's going to be, I think they did it last year, and they're coming this next session with it. Alabama's going to be tackling this next year. There are all these other states. We can't afford just to do a year or two and stop. So I can tell you,
so either.
And it's probably going to make some of your listeners mad that advertise that, I'm going to continue to bring legal reform to the conversation. We have to do it. We cannot just rest on a little bit of laurels.
I think you just made my advertising and the people that listen to me happy. Well, no, Tim, seriously, I know it's a difficult question because you're not the next year. And I believe the way the good Lord put it is today. It's all about today. But up the road, you got to keep working because we know there was about 18 to 25 bills. And for the most part, 6 bills passed maybe. And you might pass a couple more that's really watered down. So you got so much more to work on. That's why I say that.
We've got so much more. But the other thing, Moon, is we've got to have all the folks that have an impact on these cost drivers in the room together having the conversations on what needs to be done. I can sit in my office all day long and come up with legislation. Legislators can sit in their office and come up with bills that they want to bring. The governor, everybody can do that by themselves. It's not going to work. We have to all be in the room and collectively agree what the problems are. And look, we went a long way when we had those legislative hearings, those 14 separate, committee hearings talking about the cost drivers. A lot of the legislation that I was supporting and other legislators were born out of those conversations. I hope we continue to have those conversations. There's a resolution that's going to pass. It's going to, like we have to be told, but the Department of Insurance is going to study the reform and how it's going to impact the citizens and ratepayers of Louisiana. We're going to do that regardless. But we got to talk about it. And like you said, when people start seeing that rate go down,
they're going to feel really good about it.
That's when you've hit the mark.
But Tim, and it's a tough question to do this before we take a break. And because I do want to visit about 148 just for a few minutes after the break. You had all these meetings, and I followed them, and I knew y'all were having meetings. But deep down, I can't believe you feel good about those meetings. You feel good about, but what came out of them and really got passed had nothing. I know it had a lot to do with the meetings, but what came out of the meetings didn't really run through the legislature and the governor. It didn't. And that's my frustration because of the time people put in. It's almost like, why are we having these meetings if we're not going to really, really do something? Well, now, I know you're going to, I'm trying to be positive. That's fine. But I'm trying to be realistic. The meetings mean something if you can get something done.
You're right. And look, nobody wants to go up to that Capitol just to meet. We spent a lot of time.
A lot of them like to go eat.
And, and I think what you're saying, and I agree with you, is that it got watered down from the meetings to what we needed to do, to what the legislation that was brought, to what the legislation was.
But that's disappointment to me. That's not perfection. That's not achieving what you can achieve. And I know it's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. I get it. And you had to have the meeting, so you wouldn't even be where we are now. We're talking more about reform and insurance than we ever have in the history of Louisiana.
Yep.
And that's because of y'all in the meetings.
And I'm thankful for that, because once the people of Louisiana understand what these cost drivers are and where the money's going, that will motivate them to make sure that we, the elected officials, are doing what we're supposed to do to address those issues with real solutions.
Because of insurance, we got more people in Louisiana engaged. That's a fact. Everywhere I go, people that say, well, I used to not even follow this stuff. Now they follow it. Let me take a break. His name's Tim Temple. He's our insurance commissioner. I do want to ask him about one rough bill, because did that one bill shoot down everything we're doing? I think it's a great question for you to answer. And I titled it Beat Up the Tim Temple Bill. And I've seen other people start titling that as well. But I just want to get your take. Anyway, Moon Griffon Show. We had Talk 107.3 FM, Guaranteed Broadcasting in Baton Rouge. We'll be right back. This is on sale. That's a feed. And
Hey, folks, have you heard about Miracle 2? Oh, my God. You need
that was, he had a buddy of his that
it's non-toxic,
and he
all
brought him
natural
in a
skin
cage.
care
They
product
couldn't hardly
can
get
be
it to the
used
damn
for
door.
all kind of
said it right there. We took
needs such
pictures.
as regular
It's funny
soap,
because
moisturizing soap, neutralizer, gel, lotion. These products are safe to use on people, pets, and other cleaning needs, from easy clean to the biggest mess you know of. These products are manufactured, you ready, and distributed right here in West Monroe, Louisiana. Right here in Louisiana. We've been around in business for 45 years. Google or find out on social media to check out Miracle 2 products, or give us a call at 1-800-277-5444. That's 1-800-277-5444. Go see what our customers have to say about Miracle 2. There are tons of testimonies online of people who have used the loved Miracle 2. Miracle 2, you owe it to yourself to go check them out. 800-277-5444. Oh, man. Y'all hear me brag about Shucks all the time in Abbeville, the great seafood, the fresh seafood off the boat every day. Shucks has done it again. Their new location, 1301 Bayou View Drive in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Shucks has come to Lake Charles, Louisiana, not too far down from the casinos. All the great seafood you've been having at Shucks in Abbeville is now in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Whether it be Shucks in Abbeville or Shucks in Lake Charles, You're going to get fresh seafood daily. Shucks, come check us out. You're going to love it.
Louisiana's lawsuit culture is no secret. We see it everywhere. Billboards, buses, smartphones, tablets, and TVs. In just 6 months, trial lawyers spent $21 million on advertising. Over 450,000 ads, one every 34 seconds. Lawsuits making trial lawyers rich while killing jobs and driving up costs on everything we buy. It's time for a change of scenery. We need jobs, not lawsuits. Join us. Louisiana works better when we work together.
Ciao Bella Aesthetics in Lafayette is not just for non-invasive skincare treatments. They also help with several other areas of concern. Ciao Bella Aesthetics offers cool sculpt treatments that focus on more than just body contouring. These treatments can also be used to penetrate the skin and focus on those areas of inflammation wreaking havoc and causing pain to your body. With whole body wellness at the forefront, Ciao Bella is dedicated to helping you reach your goals. Follow Ciao Bella on Facebook for more info today and be your own kind of beautiful.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Redefine your car buying experience at Acura of Lafayette. Our vehicles are priced with your best interest in mind, with no hidden fees, so you can drive home with confidence. Visit us in-store or shop online at AcuraofLafayette.com. Redefine your car buying experience at Acura of Lafayette. Our vehicles are priced with your best interest in mind, with no hidden fees, so you can drive home with confidence.
And he was just trying to sue.
AcuraofLafayette.com.
God. This thing on. This thing on. Look at here. I got something I want to say. Ow! Look out, y'all.
Mike's hot.
All right, how y'all all? Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you back with us. Matthew James, Tax Reduction Hotline. Baton Rouge, Talk 107.3 FM. Looking forward to got a great day lined up with a lot of people. So I'm having always fun to come over. It's always fun to go to my market. Always just have a good time. All right, Tim Temple, Insurance Commissioner, special guest. All right, Tim, the big controversy became 148, which the 576 was attached to this, and it was really basically we're going to blame Tim Temple. And this is what I'm getting. And by the way, I didn't get this from you. So somebody says, well, you're getting it from Tim. I didn't get this from you. I get it from people that understand bills and legislation, that this bill basically doesn't help anything. This bill, you can't just all of a sudden today say, okay, Moon, I'm cutting your insurance rates by 10, 15%. You can't, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
So my question is, what do we have in place that you can do? And what does this bill do? Because this bill also does some stuff to insurance companies where they got to show money and where they spending it and all that stuff. So this bill is not just Tim Temple can cut insurance rates on everybody.
Well, look, yeah, this thing started off as a bill to remove the actuarial justification on rate setting. Math. Let's ignore math. That's what the bill started off as. Before, and it's now Act 11. It's not a bill anymore. It's the law and becomes effective August 1st. So it is Act 11, and it was under the false premise that the Department of Insurance, that the commissioner, myself, did not have the ability to deny excessive rates. And where we get into semantics is we do deny excessive rates if they aren't actuarially justified. If the math
when
doesn't
you say
work.
Actuarially justified, can you explain that a little bit? But you got to do it pretty simple.
Yeah, real simple. They want to charge $1. Insurance company wants to charge you $1. If the dollar is more than what the rates show they need for all their costs, expenses, reasonable profit, everything like that. If it's more than $1, that would be excessive.
And you can deny it.
Right. We would deny it.
Okay.
If their losses are less, it says like it's going to be $1 and their losses are going to be over $1, then that would mean the rate was insufficient, not enough to cover their losses. That means they would go out of business.
Okay.
So that's what we do. We make sure that the math adds up. Not only adds up and it's justified,
but it's that
actuarially
simple.
justified.
Okay, it's just that simple.
It's that simple.
Okay. Now what happens?
It removes that. It says it's subjective. What they
so
wanted,
in other words, whatever you think.
Whatever I think, and they amended some language that said that the commissioner may use some action.
Change of words.
Right. Not shall. So I may decide to continue to do that. And now I think I'll be criticized if I continue to make sure that companies are actuarially justified. Where someone could come in and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, whatever I think, I'm going to tell the insurance companies that's what the rate needs to be, or I'm going to argue with them, negotiate with them. We are an outlier if we start to do that. We're a different state. But beyond that, Moon, and again, that's how it started off, removing the introducing subjective rate setting. It also has now introduced, it was a bad bill, and I didn't think it could get worse, but it is. It has removed a portion of the confidentiality sections that insurance companies enjoy, not just in Louisiana, but all these other states in America. And
by the way, can I say other businesses enjoy that as well?
Other
private segment, trial lawyers included.
I don't know any other business that doesn't enjoy that. But now we're going to say that the commissioner can determine what's confidential and what's not confidential. And if I get in an argument with an insurance company over it, then it goes through a legal process. I mean, it's very complicated.
My God.
The other thing is that it introduced what I call, it's a clawback provision. If whomever the commissioner is decides that that an insurance company 1 year ago, because we've heard about all these profits apparently that these insurance companies are making, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, made too much money, this will allow an insurance commissioner to go back and claw back some of that profit.
To be joking.
And I don't even know how that would operate.
Could you imagine a business like this radio station? We're going to go back 20 years and take away some of your profit. I mean, this is way worse than I knew. I don't understand how insurance companies, just in my opinion, don't jump up and say we out of here. Every single one of them.
Well, Moon,
I'm being blunt with you.
No. And Moon, I'll tell you, I've already had conversations. Insurance companies are reaching out to me, extremely concerned with this law. We know now that there's an insurance company that just notified agents last week they're going to stop writing personal lines umbrella. I'm not saying directly because of this bill. Their losses justify that they don't want to do business here anymore. But I think that when this bill passed, it accelerated their decision.
By the way, I on that particular thing with umbrellas, because I do have an umbrella policy. On that particular deal, I was contacted by half a dozen people just internet and said, hey, one person said he lost his. The other person said that because he couldn't afford the increase. And then everybody else says, if I don't renew, guess what? I'm going to have to go look and shop, which is going to probably be a lot higher.
And good luck finding one in Louisiana. So I think this bill is going to accelerate insurance companies' decision matrix, whether they're going to continue to do business or limiting the amount of business they do in Louisiana. I'm going to keep everybody appraised as we go through this process.
I saw a picture the other day when the governor signed his deal, and I noticed when I was saying the name, two senators that I know. One of them I know, one of them I don't really know well. They got trucking companies. So for the trucking companies out there, you think any of this stuff helps them? I'm just curious. Give me your opinion. Helps them get lower rates when you hear stuff like, well, if I was in Arkansas or Texas, I'd be paying $9,000 a truck. Over here, I'm paying $27,000. I've heard these stories over and over again. Any of this stuff helps them get beyond this?
Well, look, I think the modified comparative fault is, again, it's a big one because we hear all the time and we see these trucking, especially in the commercial trucking, where they talk about, these staged accidents or, someone hit their truck and yet they got sued.
Yeah.
That modified comparative fault should go a big way. But Boone, let's again, setting expectations and being realistic. These bills are about reducing the loss cost. It's about reducing the frivolous litigation, the frivolous claims. Let's start off first with the frivolous claims that are filed. That's what we've got to get a hold of. When we as a state stop paying these frivolous claims and stop having this excessive litigation and excessive medical utilization in the billing, that's when we can expect to see premiums go down. When the losses start coming down, the premiums will come down.
Okay, a couple quick questions. I keep hearing how insurance companies are making all this money. Number one, are they calling you, knocking down the dang door to get in here? And number two, I looked at numbers. that show from 2013, 2014, over the last 10 years, basically, insurance companies have pretty much lost here. Maybe 1 year's an outlier, but overall, how can you explain those two? Can you explain those two?
Look, they are losing.
They're
money.
knocking on your door, saying, "Hey, we want to come in."
They are not. Look, we've had.
You got a number out there people can call you, huh?
I've told you this story. We've had 2 companies, and I think 3 now, on the property side because of the legislation that was passed last year that are going through the process, have gone through the process to start writing, private homeowners.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. But let me tell you what, I've got a conversation with one of those companies coming up in the next 3 weeks. I think they're coming back to re-examine that decision now because of Act 11, House Bill 148. And once I have that conversation and I can talk about it publicly, I will.
I would like to know what they say. You don't have to mention names, but I'd like to know.
Yeah, and I can't mention names right now because of the confidentiality, which they still enjoy. But let me tell you, it's going to be a problem. To your point, if they were making all this money, they would be here. And I know, listen, I heard the governor, and he's right. Some, not the top 5, but because there's a couple of other larger ones that don't, but most of the national insurance companies do write auto in our state. We're not going to dispute that. But they could be writing more, and they aren't because they lose money. The good thing for Louisiana, if you want to call it a good thing, is we're such a small state when it comes to the market share. They can come in and write a little business and make money in other states and carry Louisiana. They can carry the Louisiana book because they're making money in other states.
Well, you heard the new jingle, Nationwide. Huh? Nationwide is on your side, except in Louisiana.
No comment.
I can't help it, Tim. That's the new. All right, what about when they say record money to making record profits? Address that. We got to get out in about 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
When they say that, are they talking about Louisiana?
No, look, they're not talking about Louisiana, Moon. And I know there's battles going on social media and everything like that. But look, historically, insurance companies are losing money. The underwriting, whether you want to look at an underwriting return or a underwriting profit, at the end of the day, over a number of years, they lose money in Louisiana. I can go into stats and figures.
Okay.
Your listeners don't need to get into that. If they want, we can show
but
it to them.
But that's not what's being thrown out by the other side.
It's not, but they are losing money historically in Louisiana. Right. So we got to acknowledge that. Right. And until we do, we're not going to fix it.
We'll hear from you again, hopefully very, very soon. Love to have better news. But anyway, Tim, thank you. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
All right, we'll take a break. Bernie Prince and Ed Johnsby, don't go nowhere.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Matter of fact, I'd rather have an ego.
Hello, Acadiana. Earl Chasson here. Earl's Furniture is a proud sponsor of the Moon Griffon Show. Earl's has been servicing Acadiana for over 65 years. We accomplished this giving great prices, great selection, and great service. Earl's has the largest selection of lift chairs in the area. And most important, we have a repair shop to service any problems long after the sale. We carry brands like Best, Mayo, Craftmaster, and Von Bassett, all made in the USA. Celebrating 65 years, one of Acadiana's oldest and largest furniture stores, Earl's Furniture, on the Abbeville-Erath Highway at Grosse Ile.
As a business owner, you want your building to look the best it can. Here's Brad Price with CertaPro Painters.
A lot of times when it comes to commercial properties, it's about preserving, maintaining. More than residential's more about aesthetic, maybe a color change, maybe an accent color, maintaining, aesthetically looking good. That's the difference between residential and commercial.
Call CertaPro Painters today or visit CertaPro.com.
You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, a Town Square media station.
One big, beautiful debate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's going on this week at the Senate. Considering the massive budget bill House Republicans already passed, but some GOP senators won't support it without changes.
I can't be on record as being one who supports increasing the debt by $5 trillion. I think that's irresponsible.
Senator Rand Paul tells Fox Business he supports extending the 2017 tax cuts, but there aren't enough spending cuts to also offset this.
Increasing spending for the military and for the border, $300 billion. That's actually more than all the DOGE cuts that we've found so far. So something doesn't really add up here.
Now, President Trump must have been watching, posting on Truth Social right after that Senator Paul has very little understanding of the bill, loves to vote no on everything, has crazy ideas, and the people in his home state of Kentucky can't stand him. The president also posted the economy's booming because of tariffs as he puts countries in trade talks with the U.S. on a deadline to make their best offers by tomorrow while the trade war with China simmers.
The U.S. says China is holding back items that they were supposed to release under that 90-day tariff pause last month. These products include rare earth minerals, and that is a problem for the administration because those minerals can be used in anything from cars to fighter jets, and China processes about 90% of the global supply. But China says it's the U.S. that's violating the agreement.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. 2 manhunts continue for 3 fugitives. It's day 10 of the search for Grant Hardin, a former police chief turned convicted rapist and murderer who broke out of an Arkansas prison. It's more than 2 weeks on the run for the last of the 10 inmates who broke out of a New Orleans jail, Derek Groves and Antoine Massey, who has been spotted online.
Appearing in a social media video denying allegations related to his arrest and escape.
I'm an innocent man. Yes, in my past, I made mistakes, but the system has failed a lot of people and not just me.
Massey also disputes reports that he threatened a jail maintenance worker to facilitate the breakout.
Jeff Manasso. America's listening to Fox News.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text BIKE to 321321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text BIKE to 321321. That's BIKE.
Court-appointed special advocates, or CASA, are specially trained volunteers that help secure safe homes for abused and neglected children. Don't let these innocent victims slip through the cracks of our complicated legal system. Get involved today. Call CASA at 268-5111. This nonprofit organization moment brought to you by News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
These Acadiana businesses proudly support the broadcast of UL Raging Cajun Athletics on 103.3 and 1420 The Goat. News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Classic Rock 105.1, and Hot 107.9. Thanks to the following sponsors:
Roy Motors,
South College Center,
Dr. Natalie Brasso, DDS,
Award Master,
Lee's Air Conditioning Company,
and Ross Tire. Please support these businesses who support the Raging Cajun game broadcast of football, men and women's basketball, baseball, and softball. Bring all the action into your home, car, smart speaker, on your phone, or wherever you work all year long. And if you'd like to hear more about becoming a UL booster, it's easy to join the winning team. Support the broadcast of UL Raging Cajun Athletics by becoming a UL broadcast booster. Contact Mary Gallion at 337-233-6000.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
They came from every corner of the country, from small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines, a tough and determined few dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still, they come. Celebrate the history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Looking for a bold, conservative voice that cuts through the noise? Tune in to The Josh Guillory Show, where common sense meets current events every weekday from 3 to 5 p.m. Josh tackles the hot topics that matter most to you, from Louisiana politics to national headlines, with no spin and no apologies. It's real talk for real conservatives. Catch The Josh Hillary Show, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5, only on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Views expressed in the following show are those of the hosts or hosts only. They do not represent News Talk 96.5 KPEL or Town Square Media.
Mike's hot.
Hi, hello. Welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show on the road. Beautiful Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not too far from the capital. Guaranteed broadcast and talk on 7.3 FM. Always great to be here. It is a Matthew James tax reduction hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Got a big new advertiser statewide I'm adding tomorrow. Really big one, and I'm humbled to have them. But I'll get to that tomorrow, not today. Anyway, Bernie Pincinat joins. And Bernie has kind of been a mainstay on our program. At least when I come to Baton Rouge, you don't mind coming over, do you?
No.
Good to see you, man. Well, Bernie, people don't realize that you stick your head in the Capitol a lot. You've been doing this for an awful long time. From your thoughts, I mean, this is supposed to have been so different than what we've ever had. And the reason is Republican governor, 2/3 Republican House, 2/3 Republican in the Senate. But when I look at what some of the bills and some of the stuff they're doing, some of it look like the same old. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just totally wrong. Maybe I missed the boat. But there's a lot of things that have gone down and that we try. Everybody's shaking their head at it. I know I am.
Well, I have clients, and I still poll, but I have relationships based on polling for them when they ran for office. Lots of them.
Stay right where you at.
Lots of them. I recruited them, encouraged them to run, help raise money for them. So yeah, the legislature has always been since forever was part of what I do. If you're really heavily involved in politics, the legislature is, part of what you do, and you have to understand it. You have to get a feel for it. And as somebody who's involved in the media and does interviews and talks about the legislature, being involved with them and being involved from an outside and an inside. Yeah, I'm also very careful that no matter who I'm involved with, I also keep a perspective on looking at them from a different perspective. Somebody who comments on politics, and by the way, who judges them, criticizes them, and praises them. So when you're talking about the legislature, I'm involved in most facets of it. And your point is that I think one of the things that a lot of us were concerned about was after the election, where the number one thing that caught a lot of people's attention was the Republicans willingly sharing power with Democrats. That was their choice. But Democrats just don't play that game. I've said it on this program many times. It's one of the best quotes I've ever seen in my life, where Barack Obama told John McCain when they had no access on Obama.
Well, I know where you're going on this.
Yeah, but I have that in my office.
No, go ahead and say it. I want you to tell people what happened.
He tells John McCain, he said, losing has consequences. And you know what role they gave the Republicans in the formation and the eventual passing of Obamacare? Zero. And by the way, committee chairmanships, none. Committee input, none. Obama and Biden and the Democrats in Washington are so much better at controlling what they're doing. They stick together. They do not allow Republicans to gain a foothold in what they're doing. This partisanship, Obama, people call them, oh, we need bipartisanship. Nah.
No, you don't.
No,
that's the worst thing in the world, matter of fact, okay, I'm going to take you into, so let's fast forward. We elected all these Republican governor, but we turned around and gave committee chairs to Democrats. And if you look at Jude A, which is the Judicial Aid Committee, that was the one that has been beating us back on real tort reform. Okay, you got a weak, bad Republican in Greg Miller, And then Jay Lunatic, you call him Lunatic, is the vice chair.
Well,
and you make it 4-3 when it should have been 5-2 because you got a 2/3 vote, Bernie.
Well,
so we're doing opposite of what Obama did.
Well, look, you got guys like Lane Grigsby and Eddie Risponi and the Bollingers and all these people all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at what they're doing over there with like, you got to be kidding me. So the euphoria we all thought the Republicans were going to be working under sort of has dissipated, and it's not there anymore. But by the way, speaking of Lane Grigsby, he gets me to run a survey, and Greg Rigamer in New Orleans, and Lane wanted to know, what does the public think about a trial lawyer, and by the way, the president of the Senate, and by the way, the other members of the Senate who tolerate it, they're not any better than he is. I'm not going to blame Cameron. You know, they're part and parcel to the problem.
There's 39 of them, and 28 are Republicans.
Yeah, so they're not any better. The problems in the Senate that everybody's disgusted with, they're part of the problem. Don't sit here and.
Well, they're the ones that vote.
Yeah.
Well, they get to vote.
We asked voters in Louisiana about the insurance and said, do you think a trial lawyer should be in charge of the committee that oversees insurance reform? And so we looked at Republicans like, this isn't Republicans, and we want to know what they think about what the Republicans are doing in the Senate. It was 2/3. 2/3 of them say no. But do you think that the senators in Baton Rouge are going to make a change? No. This is perfectly
Bernie,
okay with it.
Bernie, it's not. We focus, and I have a lot on Senate Jude committee. I mean, you can go back to the Cleo Fields congressional district, which hadn't gotten over that yet, that Republicans gave Cleo Fields a district. And people said, well, that was my first vote and all that, but there was no excuse to do that.
Well,
you think the Democrats would have you think if Bill Edwards was the governor and the Democrats were in control, do you think they would have gave us a Republican district? Honestly, you think they would have said, let me carve out a district for the Republicans?
Look, I admire the Democrats and how I came from them. I was there with Bennett Johnston. I was I worked in the White House and watched and that's where I learned. I was never taught that we share power. I was never taught that we go out of our way to help Republicans.
Bernie, I watch.
Republicans are the worst in Louisiana, especially.
I got old saying. I would rather be in a foxhole with a Democrat than a Republican when it comes to the issue. And, they got mad when I started saying that. Now, everybody's realized what I'm saying and going, just like you said, absolutely. Well, you're saying that because they do stuff and get it done. We got power. It's like we hand it back to them.
Well,
in Washington, too.
No, if you talk to a Republican voter in Louisiana, they associate with trial lawyers more with Democrats. They associate the trial lawyers with supporting Biden, Obama. They're primarily anti-small business. But yet here in Louisiana, look, this is what's really important about Jude A. The Republicans literally gave the most important committee assignment in Louisiana because of the issue of cost. It is killing Louisianians. The neighbors are paying less insurance. All of the problems we have in Louisiana, and who's running Jude A? Literally the Democrats, because the trial lawyers are rhinos in disguise as from Democrats. Greg Miller there's horrible. Nothing. He's not a conservative right winger. But so that we have 39 people in the Senate who are now have told the Republicans in Louisiana, we're going to let the trial lawyers and the Democrats control this committee, so you will not get reform. And that's the statement that you have to acknowledge is a fact of life in the Louisiana Senate as of today.
But when I go back to Cameron, because he's the Senate president, he helps put all those committee chairs. And in that Senate committee, Jude A, if you go back and look at the numbers, we got 2/3. That should have been 5 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and you don't put Jay Luna over there. Well, you don't put him there. And Greg Miller, you don't put him there. Those 2 Republicans. You could fix it today if Cameron and the governor wanted. They could fix that today, Bernie.
Let me go back and explain what happened in the Senate. we refer to as the good old boys because they care more about themselves than their little power area in the committee.
Correct.
If you're a chairman, if they see if there's something like this going on with insurance reform in that committee as trial lawyers and Democrats, really, there's no difference.
No, I know.
So, is another Republican going to say we shouldn't do that? It's not good for the Republicans in Louisiana. It's not good for the ratepayers.
They say nothing.
No, they're not going to say anything. You know why? They don't have any backbone. They're primarily wimps, and they tolerate it because it's them. Yeah. They protect each other. As far as the voters out there and the Republicans who elected them, that's the least of what they're concerned about. I mean, and you talk to them, and they say, "Well, you can't trust the insurance companies. You can't trust that." And I said, "Well, you got your talking points from what? The trial lawyers?" Yeah. Let me give you a fact. State Farm is like Louisiana is like nothing to them, and I was talking to someone who knows about insurance. She said, "You realize people in Germany are affected by Louisiana because these big pools across everything in the world is protected by insurance pools. If there's a catastrophic event in the world and the pool of insurance money, which we're all paying for, by the way, that's part of our costs. So we're insignificant. And if the insurance companies will tell California to drop dead, we're not going to lower our rates. What do you think they'll tell Louisiana? So
we may find out sooner than later.
I'm going to bet on the insurance companies 99% of the time because they eventually control the dialogue and what happens. You can fight them all you want. That's your choice. But I don't know of any place that they've lost. They just dominate. And we have regulations. I think but it should have never got to that. The problem is in the legislature, the euphoria was short-lived when the Republicans won everything. As we sat around and started talking about it, we started seeing the actions of some of the people, and they became more concerned about themselves and the role they would play in the Capitol than they did about the people who elected them.
I knew mistakes were made when I saw the first vote was redistricting. And I've had not one Republican that voted for the Cleo Fields district, I'm calling it what it is, that didn't tell me it's the worst vote they ever made in the legislature. Ever. And I'm talking about veterans. I'm not talking about the rookies. I'm not talking about the freshmen. I'm talking about the veterans go, I can't believe I voted. It's the worst vote. Yet when that started, and then you start looking at all these committee chairs, you go, hold up just a second. Bernie Pinson, that's his name. We're going to take a break, come back and visit with him for a little while. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show, Talk 107.3 FM right here. And Baton Rouge is where we broadcast and take a break. Be right back.
Louisiana's lawsuit culture is no secret. We see it everywhere. Billboards, buses, smartphones, tablets, and TVs. In just 6 months, trial lawyers spent $21 million on advertising. Over 450,000 ads, one every 34 seconds. Lawsuits making trial lawyers rich while killing jobs and driving up costs on everything we buy. It's time for a change of scenery. We need jobs, not lawsuits. Join us. Louisiana works better when we work together.
As Louisiana's only fiberglass manufacturer and fabricator, C-Safe Fiberglass Grading and Structural Systems has provided corrosion-resistant products to the Gulf Coast for over 45 years. Our fiberglass grading, cable trays, and structural shapes are ideal to replace corroded, rotting building products and can be custom fabricated by the best fiberglass craftsmen in the world, right here in Lafayette. Contact C-Safe or visit our website at csafe.com. That's SEA like the ocean, SAFE.com.
Have you recently cut a large check to Uncle Sam? How did that feel? If you're looking for a way to reduce your tax bills next year, especially if you're paying $100,000, $500,000, even more annually, listen closely. There are strategies used by the top 1% that can significantly reduce your tax burden. There are the same little known provisions in the tax code that ultra-wealthy individuals and even members of Congress use. At Matthew James Tax Pros in Lafayette, they specialize in helping high-income earners like business owners, physicians, attorneys, contractors, and those in the oil and gas industry keep more of what they earn. If you're tired of writing 6 or 7-figure checks to the IRS, they'll show you strategies that could cut your taxes, sometimes by half or even more. Call us today at 337-895-0-TAX. That's 337-895-0829 or visit MatthewJamesTaxPros.com. Take control of your taxes. Start today to make next April a lot less painful. Every tax situation is unique and tax savings may vary. Have you recently cut a large check to Uncle Sam? How did that feel? If you're looking for a way to reduce your tax bills next year, especially if you're paying $100,000, $500,000, even more annually, listen closely. There are strategies used by the top 1% that can significantly reduce your tax burden. There are the same little known provisions in the tax code that ultra-wealthy individuals and even members of Congress use. At Matthew James Tax Pros in Lafayette, they specialize in helping high-income earners like business owners, physicians, attorneys, contractors, and those in the oil and gas industry keep more of what they earn. If you're tired of writing 6 or 7-figure checks to the IRS, they'll show you strategies that could cut your taxes, sometimes by half or even more. Call us today at 337-895-0-TAX. That's 337-895-0829 or visit MatthewJamesTaxPros.com. Take control of your taxes. Start today to make next April a lot less painful. Every tax situation is unique and tax savings may vary.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I was sincere. Atlas Foundation Repair, 800-256-1010. Louisiana-owned Atlas Foundation Repair, 800-256-1010. Call Tony Arpino. I've known him for years. 1-800-256-1010.
Mike's hot.
Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us on the road. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Talk 107.3 FM. This is the Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. On the hotline, we've got my friend John Blanchard and Matthew James joining us. So, John, the big, beautiful bill made it through the House. I don't think it's in trouble in the Senate yet, but there's definitely going to be some changes. You're watching this thing from a perspective of money and managing and finances and investment and saving people some tax dollars. How important is it that they get this through? Because I heard it's a $4.7 trillion increase if they don't on the people in America.
Yeah, no, look, this thing is going to be very significant on how it can save everyone in America money in taxes. From, the employee that's a single filer making less than $50,000 a year, or someone that makes $20 million a year, is going to help everyone save in taxes, especially for business owners as well. There's a lot of things in the tax code provisions that they are extending, that they're increasing, that it's going to make it more lucrative. So we want to make sure people are taking advantage of every single part of the tax bill and the tax code and making their income more tax efficiently for the future. And it helped them move money as well. One of the things that's in this bill is going to help us allow us to move people's money from their IRA to a Roth IRA without even paying taxes. They have to qualify for it, but that's a big thing whenever you can do a Roth conversion without paying taxes. So we're looking at all the different provisions on how it can help individuals and business owners lower their tax liability moving forward.
John, I got a quick question for you. I'm 64 now, and I'm not going to tell you how old my bride is, but it's something I've been reading about and checking into, and I kind of got an idea of what I'm going to do. But Social Security, is there a time to really take it? I've read 50 articles that take it at 62. Now, you can't make what you can make, though. You can only make a certain amount. No, wait till you're 67. No, wait till you're 70. Is every person, when they take Social Security, just a different situation because of your money, where you stand, and things of that nature? So how does that work when you start looking at that stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that play in. So number one, we ask, are you married? And so that's going to be one of the key things, because we've got to look at survivor benefit. We want to make sure the spouse is receiving the max benefit. So that claiming strategy is going to be different depending on the situation. We also have to look at your other sources of income. Are you still working, or are you retired? The other thing is even your health. Are you in great health? Do you think you're going to live past age 83 years old, or do you think you're going to pass away before then? So all of these little questions will help us make a better decision on if it's appropriate to take it as early as age 62 or wait till full retirement age. Delaying it to 70 really benefits the Social Security receiver that ended, like, let's say in your case, if you wait to 70, it benefits you more, but it doesn't add any extra benefit in your case, for your wife. So, we have to look at what's the individual situation and go through these series of questions to figure out when's the most appropriate time to turn on Social Security as an income stream.
Yeah, so John Blanchard, my special guest, Matthew James, MatthewJames.com. So today, if somebody, let's say I was selling my business, I said, I'm going to work this year, and I think next year I'm going to try to sell my business. What would you advise somebody to do if they were coming to you or somebody else about selling a business, especially if they're going, $1 million, $2 million, 10, whatever the number is? What would you advise them to be doing right now to get ready for that?
Yeah, you want to get your business ready to be sold, number one, so you can get a better valuation for it. But then we have to look at it from a tax standpoint, because at the end of the day, if you're selling your business, you could be potentially facing and looking straight down the barrel of a significant tax bill. The IRS, you might want to retire and sell your business, but the IRS isn't. So they're a silent partner in this sale. But how can we keep them from being a silent partner? That's the key thing. So through some very unique tax strategies, we can help people defer or even reduce or eliminate their tax bill whenever they sell their business. But Moon, it's not just selling a business. There's people that are getting out of real estate. They might have rentals that are residential rentals or commercial rentals, and they're looking at selling off either all or part of their portfolio, and they're not going to be doing a 1031 exchange. So that means that's a tax liability that they're facing. Another thing is maybe they have a hunting camp and they're looking at getting rid of it, something outside of their primary residence. Sure. So if you're selling real estate or you're selling a business, having a conversation with a firm like ours or someone that specializes in looking at neutralizing this tax liability, there's things that we can do before the sale. And there's things that we can do after the sale.
John?
But it's always best to meet with people before.
John, we got to go, man. Always a pleasure. God bless. Thank you here.
Have a good one.
All right. When we get back, Bernie Pistonat rejoins us. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'll take a break. Be right back. All right. Come on. Hey, folks, have you heard about Miracle 2? Oh, my God, you need to. You're getting ready to hear about it. It's a non-toxic, all-natural skincare product that can be used for all kind of cleaning needs, such as regular soap, moisturizing soap, neutralizer, gel, lotion. These products are safe to use on people, pets, and other cleaning needs, from easy cleans to the biggest mess you know of. These products are manufactured, you ready, and distributed right here in West Monroe, Louisiana. Right here in Louisiana. We've been around in business for 45 years. Google or find out on social media to check out Miracle 2 products, or give us a call at 1-800-277-5444. That's 1-800-277-5444. Go see what our customers have to say about Miracle 2. There are tons of testimonies online of people who have used the loved Miracle 2. Miracle 2, you owe it to yourself to go check them out. 800-277-5444. With 5 Louisiana locations, I always make it a point to visit Superior Grill when I'm traveling in the great state of Louisiana. I love the food there. It's authentic Mexican food with a Louisiana twist. Their menu has all your favorites: nachos, quesadillas, enchiladas, tacos, fajitas, hand-cut steaks, and the best margaritas in the state. You can go to Superior for lunch or dinner, and folks, you're going to thank me for it. My lovely bride and I eat at Superior Grill every chance we get. They're on Line Avenue in Shreveport, Government Street and Highland Road in Baton Rouge, St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans, and on College Saloon in Lafayette. I'm talking great food, great service, and great margaritas. The best Mexican food with the Louisiana twist is found at Superior Grill, Shreveport on Line Avenue, Baton Rouge on Government Street and Highland Road, New Orleans on St. Charles Avenue, and College Saloon in Lafayette. This is Moon Griffon. I'll see you at Superior Grill.
Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com.
As a business owner, you want your building to look the best it can. Here's Brad Price with CertaPro Painters.
Half of our business is commercial. You may recognize some of them if you drive down Pinhook, Cafe Vermilionville. That job turned out great, one of the oldest buildings in town. It looks fantastic. And we went with the color theme of the A. Hayes Town, the old architect that has built a number of properties in Louisiana. He's out of New Orleans.
Call CertaPro Painters today or visit CertaPro.com.
The hottest months of the year are also the most dangerous, not just because of heat waves or storms, but because they stress the power grid to the limit. That's why My Patriot Supply created the Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator. It delivers 3,300 watts of power, enough to run fridges, freezers, power tools, and more, all without gas, noise, or fumes, using free energy from the sun. And for a limited time, when you order a Grid Doctor 3300, you'll get 2 free 200-watt waterproof solar panels, a bonus worth $894. To claim your free panels before this offer ends, shop mypatriotsupply.com/radio. Whether it's summer blackouts, hurricanes, or just peace of mind at uncertain times, the Grid Doctor solar generator has your back. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/radio. mypatriotsupply.com/radio and secure your Grid Doctor 3300 with 2 free solar panels today.
I had an important job.
The way this is set up.
And it wasn't just a job, it was keeping my brothers and sisters safe. And coming back, it felt like kind of thrown away. It's like you're useless. You know, we don't really have a need for you now because you can't really do anything for us. That's the way I felt. If it hadn't been for Wounded Warrior Project, I honestly don't know if I would be here. It was the camaraderie that I saw and had. It was like, I got my family back again. We all felt the connection, you know, like that brother and sisterhood.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Donna by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This hour brought to you by the Matthew James Tax Pros. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com. Mike's hot.
Hi, y'all. Welcome back to Moon Griffon Show on the road in Baton Rouge with our good friends at Talk 107.3 FM, Guaranteed Broadcasting. Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. Bernie Pinson, my special guest. Bernie, a couple of things that bothered me, and it bothers you too. Okay, Republicans are in charge of everything. Man, they got some hanky-panky going on with campaign finance laws and ethics now. Some stuff they're passing that we kind of be getting our minds blown away. Talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you came across. Hold up. Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I think it was all of a sudden, actually, when I got to the Capitol, it had already started erupting because of the way the newspaper covered it, saying that they were creating new giveaways. I guess you could say this. I'm going to speak like I'm the average person because I polled that so much. And let me start off by saying if campaign finance is very sensitive because you're taking your money and you can pay for stuff that the average person doesn't get free, and you get it free because you're using your campaign funds. Well, myself and others, I have always said we need to pay legislators more money. I mean, it's a drag on them. They're here. Most governors not keep them in session almost half the year or longer. But we all know that. But my point is, as a pollster, I'll poll that. Hell no.
Yeah.
I mean, the legislatures will get up the backbone to pass it, and they get about halfway through the process, and they
get burned.
And they get burned,
they
so they
burned.
drop it. Well, same thing. If you think it's bad with that, campaign finance is even more sensitive because the average guy can't go to Washington D.C. to the Mardi Gras, by the way, and which was okay. But I think they said that now you can bring your aunt and your uncle, and
a campaign account can pay for that.
Yeah, so
so they get to do this, and they don't have to pay taxes on anything on the money they use.
No, well, that's why it's so sensitive.
God.
That's why it's so sensitive. So anyway, apparently, believe it or not, it passed with all of them, which means none of them read it because when you said, you voted. What? I didn't do that. What do you mean? It says, well, we're finding out that wasn't there, but none of us knew it. So
if you read the bill, you might find out about it.
Well, it's 100-something pages. But what you have to do is, what you really need to do is, it's not that simple. When you have something that sounds like it's the best thing in the world, make sure that it is the best thing in the world. And you should. And by the way, they have enough staff in the House, where they ought to be able to have somebody read that bill and have a flag next to it like XXX. This could be politically problem. That ain't that hard to do, Moon.
Let me throw this in. I read in the bill where it said one is, so if I want to take my whole family to Mardi Gras, I can pay it with my campaign account.
Right.
Okay.
Or my house.
Oh, I'm getting to that. A house note. That comes in because you can call your house a campaign center.
Yeah.
So now I can get money from John over here because he's a lobbyist. Okay. He brings me a bunch of money. I said, John, I got this mortgage still. Don't worry about that. We put a lot of money in to take care of your mortgage, or part of your mortgage. And guess what? I don't have to pay taxes because it's not coming out of my money. It's coming out of my campaign account that people contributed. Bernie, that's dirty. That sounds like that's going to be dirty. In my book, you got Mardi Gras, and you got mortgage, and you got country club dues.
Oh, that was the one that blew
the country club dues now you can't pay a country club due. You can pay it out of your campaign account. By the way, Brett, I want to go back to what I asked you. This is Republican. Let me make sure I'm saying Republican governor, 2/3 in the House and 2/3 of Senate Republican. That's what we passing?
Well, let me go back and say what we started off and preface it with this. The euphoria of the House and Senate being 2/3 Republican, all the other elected officials in Louisiana are controlled by Republicans. And the Democrat, I gave this speech across the state to Republicans, and you get in the groups. For the first time in the history of Louisiana, Republican voters will have what they think is the key to changing Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have Republicans running everything, and what they know needs changing can now be done. And it is it should be the most exciting time in the history of Louisiana. If you are a Republican voter.
I was at one of your speeches in Baton Rouge.
I said that.
And that's I remember you saying that.
And I said, you should be so excited because this is it. And first thing, it started chipping away. And here's another one. This is the funniest one for me. I heard just about every Republican candidate on the road giving speeches saying, we got to get rid of that
0.5 cent sales tax. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hollering it from the top of my lungs.
So Republican voters have gotten what they wanted. They got the opportunity it has never had before. And I pointed that out, speech after speech, that and I also said it's an awesome responsibility to the people that were given this. It's an honor. They were given this honor, and you know what? They haven't blown it, but pretty close to it with a lot of people, and you can tell by why do I know that? Because people in poll after poll says they don't like to.
Not only did they
can't make
the
this stuff
0.45 would have fell off. They kept it.
Yeah.
That's a tax increase.
Well,
then they added 0.55.
Moon, you ever heard that saying? You can't make this stuff up.
No. That's, by the way, this is not meant to be a comedy show, but it can get funny quite often.
Well, I mean, they all run around we got to get rid of that John Bell tax.
Yeah.
John Bell's got to be dying laughing. Wait a minute.
Oh, he is.
They took 5.45.
But you got to remember.
5.1.
You got to remember, Bell Edwards used to roll over in his wife every morning and say, she would say, honey, what you laughing? I get to go against Republicans. And I beat the hell out of them every time.
Well, and then you got so you're messing with campaign finance. There has been some major changes.
What about ethics? We got any ethics board anymore? Or is that going to be going away? I'm curious. Remember, Bobby Jindal put the gold stamp.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell the next governor, whether it's 4 years or 8 years. I'm not getting into that. But I'm going to tell you what the main topic will be. It's going to be Jindal, a Jindal candidate who realizes that with our reputation for corruption and the number of elected officials,
ethics matter.
Yeah, ethics matters. The next governor will run on that, and that'll be one of the main issues. Let's restore campaign finance and ethics, because the first time someone goes to jail, the public is going to go crazy. They're going to blame the legislature and whoever else. But the next governor, the main campaign will be, we got to fix our, we got too many crooks in this state, and we can't be lax.
So let me get this straight. So campaign finance laws, I'm mixing with ethics. They will now be able to write part of their mortgage off or pay their mortgage off with a campaign account.
No, they can take their lobbyists to the Country Club of Louisiana and feed them.
Yeah, and that's two, and then
write it off.
Then so they can do mortgages. They can go to Country Club. They can go to Mardi Gras and take whoever they want to and pay that out of campaign contribution. I mean, this. By the way, this is Republican.
They can literally have a family reunion at Washington.
Oh my God. And pay for it all through campaign accounts.
Yeah,
wow.
Like I said, I keep saying you can't make this stuff up. So, but here's the problem with all of that, and being a pollster. And I've had conversations with some of the people over there about how I think it's probably not going as well as everybody hoped. All you got to look at the direction of the state. The direction of the state 2 years ago was optimistic, and it's turned from optimistic to pessimist, big time.
By the way, a quick report before I take my last break. Would you call this session? What I'm hearing is this has been one of the most disappointing sessions for us. Attitude and people bummed out on kind of what's going on.
Yeah,
am I wrong by saying that?
No, even at the Capitol, legislators are I think they're the insurance isn't really the big winner that it should be, because whether I have no idea why.
Should have been easy.
Well,
I just think it should have been easy.
I just think right before the session, right as we were starting to talk about insurance, and it's such a huge problem, and it's the governor and the insurance commissioner got into this war. So you're saying, okay, I hope this session.
I think it's a combination. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think the turkey hunt didn't help.
Well, no.
Can I be blunt about that?
No.
Not being ugly, that didn't help.
No, listen to my point.
Okay.
I agree. Okay. My point is, you got the insurance commissioner, then you got the trial lawyers flying people here and there, and everybody, and the leadership, by the way. And by the way, trial lawyers aren't popular in Louisiana. I've heard you discuss it.
Good point.
So all of a sudden, the trial lawyers seem to be running things, or the two people that should make a difference don't even get along. That's not a good signal to send to the voter.
Great point.
Whether it's who, I'm not saying whoever's right.
No. I know you're just saying if these two guys ain't getting along, we got a problem.
We got a problem. I mean, it was so obvious that everybody was alarmed.
Yeah. Let me take a break. Bernie Pinson, now we'll come back, wrap up this segment. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. I do want to ask you something a little bit about Baton Rouge and and St. George, because I know it's been going back and forth and money, and where are we on that? I'm just kind of curious why we're here. All right, we'll take a break. Be right back. I really am curious about what's going on because St. George reaches out to me and we pay them on and all that money. This is Moon Griffon. You know I love a great Louisiana company, and one of those that I love is Hudco Roofing. Hudco Roofing and Exteriors is Louisiana's premier professional roofing contractor, specializing in residential roofing services. Remember, your roof protects everything, all of your possessions, and most importantly, your family. And that's where Hudco Roofing comes in. These folks are not just your average roofer. They're the #1 roofing company in the state, and that's why I endorsed them. Whether you need repairs or a brand new roof, Hudco Roofing has you covered. Hudco is a CertainTeed Select shingle master and takes every roof all the way down to the decking to make sure there's no hidden damages. Hudco Roofing is also a state-certified installer of the fortified roofing system, and that's a big deal, especially during hurricane season. Anywhere in Louisiana, you can get a free roof inspection and quote from Hudco Roofing. For quality workmanship, premium products, and unparalleled customer service is Hudco Roofing. I trust Hudco Roofing of Louisiana, and so can you. HudcoRoofing.com. HudcoRoofing.com. Tell them Moon sent you.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. It's termite season. Did you know termites are responsible for over $1 billion worth of damage in Louisiana alone? For over 60 years, J&J Exterminating has been shielding homes and businesses. 100% guaranteed against termites, pests, and mosquitoes. Louisiana-owned, customer-focused. J&J Exterminating.
Call them today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating.
Get the shield.
Yeah.
Folks, you heard us talking about Raging Cajun, the original Cajun seasoning, and Raging Cajun delicious line of gumbo, black-eyed peas, shrimp and grits, jambalaya, seafood bits, etouffee, red beans, roux, jalapenos. Raging Cajun's products are made right here in Acadiana now. Thanks to all of y'all, Raging Cajun is one of the fastest growing brands in grocery stores. Raging Cajun, the original Cajun seasoning. Forget the rest, ask for the best. Ask them for that Raging Cajun. It's good, folks. Trust me. I love it. You will too.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Kerry Bryson with the Bryson Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Bryson Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems. We're regulated by the Louisiana Bar Association, and we have an A+ rating with other business people. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Bryson Law Firm can help you navigate your way to the best resolution plan, and we will tell you upfront how much you can expect to pay us throughout this process. So before you send money to some out-of-town high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Bryson Law Firm. Our headquarters are located in Lafayette, Louisiana, and we have offices across the state. Call today at 1-855-LA-TAX-HELP to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm or visit BrysonLawFirm.com. LSBA filing number LA2416924.
The hottest months of the year are also the most dangerous, not just because of heat waves or storms, but because they stress the power grid to the limit. That's why My Patriot Supply created the Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator. It delivers 3,300 watts of power, enough to run fridges, freezers, power tools, and more, all without gas, noise, or fumes, using free energy from the sun. And for a limited time, when you order a Grid Doctor 3300, you'll get 2 free 200-watt waterproof solar panels, a bonus worth $894. To claim your free panels before this offer ends, shop MyPatriotSupply.com/radio. Whether it's summer blackouts, hurricanes, or just peace of mind in uncertain times, the Grid Doctor Solar Generator has your back. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com/radio. MyPatriotSupply.com/radio and secure your Grid Doctor 3300 with 2 free solar panels today.
Mike shot.
Hi, hello. Welcome back. The Moon Griffon Show, last segment of this hour. Matthew James Tax Reduction Hotline. I want to thank Guaranty Broadcast and Talk 107.3 FM, Gordy Rush and Brian Haldane, Mr. John over here for making sure we were taken care of while we were here. They always do, and I'm humbled. Barney Pincinat, my special guest. Barney, let me jump gears a little bit with you. Tell me what's going on with St. George and Baton Rouge, and I know they had the big move and all that stuff, but I keep up with it from a distance, from people and what I read and stuff like that. So where are we with the areas now? Because I know there's been a lot of conflict, and of course, anytime you got somebody that's going to leave, it's going to be conflict, and it's a money side and there's a tax side. So what's kind of going on?
Well, it started years ago. You could see various areas of Baton Rouge, like they'd had enough of what we call the downtown crowd, the chamber, and these various organizations. And I realized it, and I was involved, and I was Tom Ed McHugh, who was very popular. I was his pollster for 12 years. I mean, when you're the pollster and you're polling this stuff, is often as every 6 weeks, you get a pretty good idea of the picture of what's starting to happen or happening. And we all could feel it. The problem was that I summed it up with in an interview, and I remember people calling me and laughing, said it was hilarious, and the downtown crowd's got to hate you. I said that if you took the downtown chamber and all that crowd and gave them a bunch of bloodhounds, a GPS, and a compass, they couldn't find Central in a week. And
You're probably right, by the way.
Yeah, and they really didn't care. They you take it or leave it. The audacity of, okay, you got all these people in the outskirts who are, by the way, becoming the big numbers, not the city. And you know what their attitude was?
So what?
Let them eat cake. What's that famous phrase? Let them eat cake. So you got all these downtown people in these organizations that are just insulting them and saying, "You got to come downtown. We want you to spend all your money downtown Baton Rouge," which benefits them, by the way, and the people in Central and Zachary and all of. Plus, then you got this huge area building up in University Club, Country Club, Louisiana, Shenandoah, and all these places are becoming full.
Getting pretty big, yeah.
Who don't want to be part of Baton Rouge anymore. And then you got St. George concept comes up, which is brilliant. But it was there. It was made to happen. It was going to happen because of the attitude of the chamber and the downtown. I call them the downtown out of touch crowd. The people who run banks, by the way. Oh, we want your deposits. Oh, you're from Shenandoah. Well, we don't want to have it. We really don't like you. You don't want.
We want your money, but you don't have to come here much.
No, don't come. No, come downtown when you spend your money at night. We want you to be part of the downtown, whatever that is. So anyway, it just started building and building, and all of a sudden, they got 80,000 plus people out there who have had enough of East Baton Rouge Parish government. The chamber wasn't representing them. Most of the small businesses in Baton Rouge had left the chamber by then. And my partner and I certainly wasn't going to be a member of it. And certainly I was like the most disliked guy in the whole group, because I would say what the voters thought versus what they wanted me to say. And so what happened was everybody saw it except them. Then when it thrust on them, then they went and they started getting like the Mall of Louisiana. They were part of St. George, but they went and got them.
They annexed them.
Okay. Well, I think some of those companies, as Village St. George becomes the big place because of the money out there, you can see those people begging to get back in.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of when. They're going to have the numbers and the money and the economic power. But so what's left in Baton Rouge is the mayor today said we probably have to cut the budget. We're going to have to lay off people. Why? Because this huge drain called Village St. George there's so much money, the tax money's out there. And then you've got Central, which has its own little area. You got Baker, you got Zachary. So Baton Rouge,
they are pretty much their own little area.
Well, yeah, I mean, the downtown Baton Rouge it really doesn't belong to anybody except a few people downtown. And no matter what they do, they've never been able to change the attitude of the people in the rural areas to come downtown and spend your money, or come down to that. They'll come down to events, but you can't force them and spend their tax dollars to build up something that they don't want to be part of. And that's the history of Baton Rouge. Yeah. I think the last blow was the library. And by the way, about halfway before it was finished, I think the building almost fell down. Architectural problems or something like that. I mean, it's a
new library they were trying to build.
Yeah, downtown, a library downtown. Have they ever heard of the MacBook?
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, kids are on. That's where kids are today. Now, certainly, I'm not going to sit here and say libraries, but
well, it's not what it was when you and me were coming up. Even John was coming up.
Well, not only that, you can't take people's tax money and spend it the way you want. That's what was irritating. So Baton Rouge is I know Woody Jenkins has been associated with recruiting the mayor. He's a former coach, but man, I wouldn't run for that job. I mean,
no, when he won that job, I thought of the dog catching a car.
Yeah,
you got it. Now what?
Yeah,
because they've had so many problems.
Well, I did an interview on Channel 2 right after and said I wish him luck, but I don't know if I also wish him he better have a strong constitution because it's not going to be a fun whatever.
And look, I followed from a distance. He's been mayor for how long now? 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
last November.
I wonder what's really going on.
Well,
I'm sure it's a tough battle if I had to bet.
Well, you know, if you take, look, the way Louisiana's set up, if you don't have any money, I don't care who you are, you're not going to be popular.
Money's the key.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So, in people in Baton Rouge, most of them are happy right now because they got their own little city. Everybody has their own area right now. It's like we've got we've got cities within the parish that don't need downtown Baton Rouge. They don't want to come downtown. They do have parish government here, and you got to go to the courts here and everything else. But there's not a lot of good news as far as the future of Baton Rouge.
And you mentioned another thing because I know there was a battle. St. George has been trying to get their money. I don't know if they've ever gotten it because I hadn't followed it that closely, but they were trying to get it through the city.
Well, they agreed upon, and the city, I guess the city will give it to them. But the problem is that
they don't have it.
The amount of money they're going to take from Baton Rouge is going to grow, not shrink.
Yeah.
So
and the deal was made under the other governor. I mean, the other mayor who got beat.
Yeah.
Well, the new mayor's got to come in and probably got to deal with that, which is probably a tough deal when you think we paid his money. We don't have any money now.
Well, they were correct in not wanting it to succeed. If you're the mayor of Baton Rouge,
sure.
You know what's going to happen, but that's not what she and others could have done better was make those people feel like they have a say. You can't tell those people we don't care about you. You have no access to us.
You can't be a dictator and then downplay everybody and then expect them to love you because it doesn't work.
That's
that way.
what happens.
All right, Bernie, thank you so much. We'll do it again. I'm back in 2 more weeks, coming about every 2 weeks. So I'll be back again. All right, God bless. Thank you. All right, folks, thank you. Some of you leaving us, God bless. Have a great day.
You're already
for the absolute best in local Cajun food. Check out Prejean's in their 2 locations in Carencro and Broussard today.
LA 1305138.
Need guidance in a legal matter? Turn to the News Talk 96.5 KPEL Legal Authority, Glenn Armentor.
When in an automobile accident, don't attempt to move or exit the vehicle unless certain you can do so without pain or injury. Call the police immediately. Never be talked out of calling them. Learn more by going to kpel965.com and clicking on Legal Authority.
For answers to your legal questions, go to kpel965.com and click on the Legal Authority.
Record keeping can be a pain, but if you're hurt on the road or on the job, the more information to support a claim, the stronger your case will be for a fair settlement. So don't let the pain of record keeping get in the way of what you deserve for the pain of your injury.
This message has been brought to you by the News Talk 96.5 KPEL Legal Authority, Glenn Armentor. For free help with your legal matter, go to kpel965.com
and click on the legal authority.
Announcer is a non-attorney paid spokesperson.
LA 1305152.
This hour of news is brought to you by Matthew James Tax Pros. Online at MatthewJames.com.
You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
How to get back on the right track. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. China's foreign ministry says U.S. relations are at a critical juncture and that dialogue and cooperation are the only correct choice in a trade dispute that's grown more tense, with each side accusing the other of violating a recent tariff pause agreement.
Language from the Chinese now becoming more bold and pointed. The China Foreign Ministry spokesperson accusing the U.S. of lying that it broke the Geneva Agreement, saying pressuring and coercion are not the right way to engage China. We call on the U.S. to respect the facts, stop spreading disinformation, reverse the wrongdoings, and act to uphold the consensus.
Fox Business's Edward Lawrence at the White House. The Treasury Secretary says China is a separate issue from the multiple other countries negotiating trade deals with the U.S. Late-term pardons issued by the former president are now under review by the Trump administration.
Justice Department pardon attorney Ed Martin is reviewing pardons and commutations signed by former President Biden in the final weeks of his term amid concerns about the use of an auto pen.